that we are not their priority. Their first priority is going to be critical infrastructure, standing up the hospitals, getting the roads open, communications, water, and so forth.
Yeah, but they're not looking for the regular.
That's correct. So what they're saying is, what they're saying is that you need to be able to survive and be self-reliant within your home, right, to the best that you can. And the problem is that, some of our beliefs goes beyond what FEMA responds to, but a large portion of our populace, it doesn't matter how many times you mail them a mailer saying you've got 30 days to stock this much food and water, because they'll use it for toilet paper, they're not going to do it. Either they can't do it, they can't afford, they say they cannot afford to do it, but if you've ever been hungry before, you'll figure out a way.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're telling you in X number of days, basically the chain is cut off, and you better be able to take care of yourself for X days, But that's one of the fears, is that percentage of the populace that ignores it, and that's why for us, the ability to get out of Dodge while the others are figuring out their EBT cards aren't working, that's when we got to go the other direction.
Yeah, I already figured out, if you're in town and it goes down within a half hour if nothing comes up and everything is down, you don't wait. You leave
especially
right
under your
away.
circumstance
You
of where
leave
you're
right
at
away.
sometimes, is getting from point A back to your nest to decide what your plan is, if you're going to stay or get out.
3 days. You have 3 days. All the withdrawals, everybody
People will
not
stay.
having their computers, their cell phones.
People will stay
all electronics
in their areas for the first 24, maybe up to 3 days, because
That's their launching pad time.
Yeah, I think that's, never having done it, but it just common sense tells you that that's going to be the trajectory, and you got to be gone.
You better be out of the path.
Yeah.
Have all your ATMs done if there's even any, to have that in advance. When they're going that way, you need to go that way. I stood and watched them during our 2011 at a grocery store, and it was unbelievable. It's 80, 90 degrees, and they're coming in looking for milk, ice cream, and bread. We had just been hit by a couple Cat 5s, tornadoes. Ice cream, milk, and bread.
Really?
Yeah.
Which is going to last you how long with no electricity?
Yeah.
So I'm going to eat that whole half gallon when I get out of the store.
Fighting over ice,
Well, then your next one is if you have no power and the vehicles are down. Well, and I don't believe generators will run either. You need to be able to cook, boil your food.
Generators are great
But I
until
don't.
the fuel runs out.
Yeah.
And then what? Wood and solar. Wood and solar. Those are going to be the last two things remaining, is wood and solar. The sun, hopefully, and wood. Wood and solar.
Yeah, but are there components on the solar? I've not really thought about that. Components on the solar that would not work.
Melt down
The
on
electronics would not
EMP.
work with.
EMP?
Yeah.
I used to be very anti-solar. I was not a solar fan until probably after we bought our house. After studying some of Dr. Bradley, Art Bradley, he's one of the more vocal voices on EMPs. He works for NASA. Graduate of Auburn University. He used to be in Huntsville. He's now at the NASA Field Research Office at Langley, Virginia. And if you go to his website, you can see a lot of the advanced personal testing he's done on EMP studies. He's made a solar blanket or a EMP blanket for your car for
to keep
himself
it.
to test it. Him and his son made it. He's now he was building a box that you could like hang between your breaker box and the power pole. That
keep
if
that
it had
from-
an EMP type surge, that it would kick off and it would keep your house from frying.
Take the
We heard
brunt
him
of it.
speak
Yeah.
at an event last year.
Yeah, now see that would be
But he's sick right now.
that would be
so-
an interesting thing to know a little bit more about that.
His words, not mine. He told an audience when were we there? April? Down where I teach at in North Carolina at Heritage Life Skills. He was the guest speaker last year. And he said his estimate would be approximately 10% of today's automobiles would be totally shut down from an EMP. 10%.
Only 10?
It's got, yeah. Now,
Only 10% left, or only
10% of the ones in operation. It doesn't seem like a lot, does it? But when you multiply how many people own cars, 2 and 3 cars a family,
Yeah.
that's
But
a
then,
lot of
see,
cars
that kind of
blocking
negates
roads.
the theory that no one else is going to be, if
Right.
the EMP comes, no one else is going to be on the road and you're going to be on foot. Some may be on foot and some may not.
Correct.
You know,
The roads will
so-
be blocked. You
Yeah.
can about bet on that. The big thing, there's 3 different levels of EMP. And the big thing is, it's kind of like a tell. If the EMP, how high it is or how low it is in the atmosphere, right?
what effect it has
And
on.
how much tail the device or the line that is hit, how much tail there is for it to get a hold of. The shorter the tail, the less likelihood that you specifically will be impacted. The longer the tail is, it has to hit and run that like surge. I went and I forget what chapter it's in. Do you remember in the book I wrote on EMPs and explained part was Dr. Bradley's and part there was a think tank that was held down at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. What year was this, 2019? December, the last think tank was December of 2018. There was a lot of brainiacs and 4-star generals
Trying to figure it out.
corporate world, and they were talking about the current status of America's grid. They just had another think tank in April or May.
Well, the current status of our road systems and electrical, considering that, the status of our grid can't be very good. I
It's
would
very
think.
old.
Yeah, I would think it's very old.
But the thing is it's real easy to set, and I was included till I took time to actually start reading on it. A lot of the information blames the government, and to a degree it is the government's fault because they're responsible for the grid. But a lot of the problem is in the corporate world. And that is where when the government says we need to A, B, C, D, D, the corporate world, the utilities is coming back and saying, well, we're not going to do it, or
We'll do A and
the
C
pay.
and not B,
Yeah.
and yeah.
That's where the pushback is coming from, is because honestly there's no one in the government smart enough to really tell them how to fix it. They can just say, this is what we need, this is what we want, here's money.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And where are their priorities? Their priorities,
Right.
big city priorities? Probably not. Depends on what big city,
correct.
what section.
Yeah. It's very easy it's like we were talking yesterday, I think it was, we were talking about where the power generated from, was it us that was talking about where the power generated from TVA, where a lot of that power was going to?
Yeah.
It's like where Sam works out in Virginia. A lot of that power is actually going to Washington, D.C. and up to New York.
Yeah.
Ours is going strictly to New
I
York.
think ours is going to New York as well.
So so low on the totem pole.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wouldn't take them long to redo it, send it to our grid.
But
They
it would
needed
also
to.
be very easy. It would also be very easy to do a partial grid shutdown.
Yeah, I've
To
been waiting.
basically
I've been
take,
actually waiting for that. I mean,
if things get out of control, shut down the entire grid, and who's going to know any differently?
yeah,
And then if we can't communicate other than maybe ham radio or a satellite phone, which is very expensive,
You think
is
the
that
end of the world's coming.
is that you think it happened, but they then, after they've instilled martial law, they can start bringing up that grid
wherever they want to pump it out.
wherever and whenever. Yeah,
That's the idea of just being ready yourself for whatever you need to be, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Because if it happens wherever you are, if you're on vacation, if you're
Oh, yeah.
visiting
Yeah,
family
right.
someplace, you should always have at least a minimum of something with you.
we carry airbags with us everywhere we go, even to work. We have this thing too, kind of along the lines of what you were talking about. We have a thing we call our football bag.
Yeah.
It's a little backpack.
I have
And
my
it's-
little bag, and
It's got all of our digital,
it's
all that personal stuff.
yeah,
That because if the banking system wiped out like that, who you
Yeah,
are and
and-
what's yours,
yeah.
you know.
Well, at one point, cash won't do anything, but probably immediately it will.
Until they figure it out.
And
Especially
once you're past that point, there'll be a point when cash is not going to do anything. You'll trade for services.
Especially when you're trying to fill up that tank and get as far away as you can, and cash is king.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, I mean, we've on our travels been to places where their electronic were not working and they were only taking cash. And if you're going across Lake Upper Michigan and there's only a gas station limited places
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're out of
Yeah, no.
gas and you get to here and you need gas and they have no electronics, you need money
It's like
to get
Canada,
your
you go a
gas.
long ways.
You go a long ways.
Destination to
Montana's
the-
like that.
Yeah.
100
In
miles from the
between.
gas station.
Most people don't realize it because the majority of places where we live, everything is on time, real time, everything is there.
You can get a fill
But
up and
not-
a burger and a milkshake on every corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you've been to Alaska, we spent some time in Alaska, and you need to be prepared where you're going. For
In
whatever
Montana,
might-
you would have 1 or 2 5-gallon cans strapped on the bumper when you got out.
Oh, you've
out
seen
of the
everybody.
city.
You've seen everybody,
fill it up.
all the
better have-
trucks up there, they have their own gas tanks in the back of their bed. And
Yeah.
that's the reason they carry in their own gas. If they can't buy it, they've got
Right.
their own
150
gas.
gallon tanks.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, it'll keep you going, or if you're stranded, it'll keep your motor running, but you can't eat it or drink it.
No, that's why you have to have the personal
Yeah, yeah.
and have the personal know-how to do.
Yeah.
And to get past that first spot to where there are no longer any canned goods, so that you can either grow your own or else produce your own
So,
food.
so one last question for you. Based on your experiences, what would you recommend for folks who are just starting in the area of motivation and morale? When it gets tough and you want to quit, what would you recommend based off of the journey you two have been on? That was a way of life for you, but what would you say to the young folks who say, you know what? The reason I'm asking, a portion of the readers of the website and the newsletter who I communicate with via email, they are in the range of 30 to 40 years old, and they have made the switch from being a payday to payday, living that life, to now they're building plans, they're growing gardens.
Yeah, I was just going to
Uh,
say that first steps is sort of getting back to where our roots come
Yeah.
from, back to nature. growing a garden. Can you grow a garden?
Sure, you plant
know,
seeds.
Right, but not everybody can plant seeds.
They're learning
and
that.
They're learning that, and that would be the first step. Can I plant and grow seeds? What would I plant and actually use? You know, what kind of things would I actually
What
use?
season, my soil.
Yeah, and well, if you don't have a garden spot, then what would you do? Oh, we could have a garden. We could have boxes. You know, we can make our own soil.
You can build it up.
You can do a worm farm, and the worms will create your own soil to put into your. There's all kinds of things to do, and just like we said at the beginning, camping, a good way back to nature. If you can come here and camp, start your own fire, make it so that you're not bringing everything pre-done, pre-cooked.
Yeah.
And actually cook on that fire, figure out how you can cook on that fire, and go back to nature.
You're doing it yourself.
Go back to nature and understand what you need to do. You know, once you have done that, you will be able to understand what you need to have.
Good advice.
Don't forget, God is alive and well, and He's there for you. He's not going to leave you or forsake you, and He'll talk to Him as if He's right beside you. And watch the magic begin.
End of that. Now that you've checked out of your lodge, and you got band-aids on your fingers, you got stung by 2
Have
bees.
messy hair, don't
And
care.
you're feeding the bees.
Yes, I've been fodder for the bees.
She's taking a beating.
I'm ready to go and sleep in my own bed.
Do you have any advice?
Pray that we don't ever have to get to the point where we have to implement all of this.
Sure.
Good to know, but
Enjoy it while you can.
by the grace of God, then things will stay calm and we'll carry on.
And even think of how much
It's a good hobby.
fun that you will have in between camping, learning all these things, teaching your family and your children and your grandchildren to do all these things. Think of the generational thing that you can start
Sure.
going back to nature, and so that they'll learn all those things. Maybe they'll live in cities all the rest of their life, and like you said, none of this will happen.